They are operating based on the interests of the area, because it's the local leaders that select beneficiaries based on the need.
All right.
So it's that kind of thinking. And we think that if it is handled well, with the good will and intention of the leaders involved, in addition to the technical department, because I will be honest with you that the biggest disappointment these programs have had at the technical persons, they have not given us the best we expect from them. So we have lost output, we have lost money, we have lost the technical knowledge that they could have offered. We have lost the monitoring guide, because even the monitoring guide, Honorable Balimwezo is here, he can attest that it is hard to get the monitoring guide of these programs from technical officers. But once local leaders are empowered to understand the gist of the program, in my maybe basic thinking, I think it can add some sort of value, and it can help these initiatives to maybe grow a little bit more.
All right. Let's go over to the Honorable Member. Honorable, well, as a representative of the people, you definitely have received many questions about this initiative. As a person that sits in Parliament and the role that Parliament plays, you've also engaged, you know, at various levels with the Parish Development Model. You have had, you know, what government had in mind, what government hopes to achieve. From where you're seated, will this translate into those positive results that are being anticipated?
I think this program was rushed, because you have told us that it was launched on the 26th day of February 2022. And I think, was it 18 or 17 million was apportioned.
17 million to every parish, a total
but
of
up to now,
200 billion that
200 billion,
Parliament appropriated.
17 per parish. And up to now, we don't know actually what that money has been used for.
Well, setting up and
as a member of
testing the ground maybe.
No, we haven't seen it, and we are demanding for accountability for that money. I heard that they were trying to find ways of utilizing it before the close of the financial year, and that has been a problem. We requested that let this program be given time, ample time, so it was rushed. Even members of Parliament have little knowledge about these programs. But like you earlier said, we have had quite a number of similar programs, and the challenge is that these programs come as political programs. Yes, we are aware that we need to basically improve household income. That is key. I will give you a small example of the amount of money that we expended on the Youth Livelihood Program. Government in 2019-2020 committed 93.3 billion for the youths in their various groups, and he was key in this program. And Nakawa was, by the way, the best, because the way we handled it. But recovery, because it's similar to the revolving fund that we are going to have, recovery was only 37 billion, and that is only 40%. 40% that was recovered. And how did it come in? It came in like a political tool. Museveni at Wadi, he arrested many. Some people ran away from their villages, isn't it so? Baduka, they ran away because of that money. So people needed sensitization, thorough sensitization, before even taking the money. People need mindset change before you give them money. You are giving money to people who have never held $1 million shillings, even 500 shillings. And therefore you need to equip them with the knowledge, even in that they are going to do. I've handled such people before. I have Balimwezo Community Foundation. I've been training youths. And when you find the model that I use and that of government, they're quite different, and mine has at least come out well. You know, you only find serious people if they accept to be trained. The presidential initiative was actually begun by me. My RCC can attest to this. They took my model. They took my model. Because when I started training people in skills, vocational skills, I did not only give them the skills, but I also added financial literacy. And I remember going to European Union and I requested for startup capital. The question was, won't these people spoil our money? Told them, no. I've trained them in the skill. Someone knows how to make a dress. And not only that, but I've also given them financial skills. That's how I came up with a formula. Financial literacy plus vocational skills is equal to success. Government has not done that in the end of its programs. You get that? So it's quite important. Have you changed the mindset of the people? Because earlier, these youths actually knew that this is money that is a donation from the president. Today, when we are launching, they told the people that this is a grant. President Museveni award the grant, award the senti. But there is a cost.
I think that's why he said some of the leaders have not understood. Because if the leaders were taking to the podium and calling these
were statements from ministers, the most knowledgeable people in this program. Therefore, you begin asking yourself, actually, have we given this program time? No. The UWEP, where he was part and very pertinent, in this very year that I spoke about, was given 666.7 billion. But the recovery was only a mere 23%. 23%, that was 16.9 billion. And this is similar in nature. But this is where we have not actually even gotten the data about who is supposed to receive the money. The vulnerable people that are actually supposed to benefit from the fund are not known. Therefore, there are quite a number of gaps. Okay. The other gap is you have, in most cases, when you are budgeting, you have to think about equity, distribution of funds. And the best way is to use population. Here we are. I have a parish, Mutungo Parish, located in Nakawa East constituency. It's very much aware that it's one of the biggest parishes in the country. It has 120,000 people. I don't have facts about the households, but I think it has the biggest number of households. It is going to be given 100 million. But you also find another parish in the east with 35 people, not households, but 30,000, not 30,000, but 30 people. You find another one in Ajumani with 900 people. But you are giving the 900 people equal amount to a parish that has 120,000 people. Are you being fair?
The poverty is more in the rural areas.
No, absolutely no. He knows the number of slums that we have in basically Mutungo. Here you are, you give out funds and you have not prepared decent workplaces. And you have seen RCCs saying arrest Batembe. And these are the people that you're giving money. Arrest people, street vendors, these are the people you're giving money. So you're washing and at the same time putting in dirt. Why don't you first deal with decent workplaces?
All right.
Nakawa East constituency has just 2, in fact 1 market, and that's Ugolobi market, with 800 stores. When I did count the number of people that are working on streets of Nakawa East constituency, they are in tens of thousands. What are you going to do for them? Tomorrow, Jennifer Mosisi, not Jennifer, I'm sorry, Chisaka is going to say, nah, get off the streets. Where are you going to put them? So therefore, it would be important for us to begin with workspaces, decent workspaces for these people, before even we give them the money. Because KCC is going to go and impound them, and yet it's a loan. It is a loan.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable. If I may now come to Ms. Damali Sali. You come you're from the Private Sector Foundation. We say this a lot, that our economy is private sector, led. And from where, private sector is seated, you definitely have analyzed the Parish Development Model and how it's being rolled out. Will it achieve what it's supposed to, based on the way things have been done and your involvement as well?
Thank you for that. And it's a very interesting question, because as private sector, we haven't been necessarily involved in the planning, development of the private sector, the Parish Development Model, and that is what we seek. We seek to be involved in the planning. The reason why we do that is that the Parish Development Model is focused on agriculture produce, making sure that we have productivity at parish level by the households to ensure that they increase their incomes, the women are involved, the youth are involved. But after production, what happens? What happens to all that maize that may be produced, say, in Amuru? If there is a parish in Amuru that focuses on producing maize, what happens to it after it's produced? That's where the private sector has to then, we need to have a public-private partnership where the government, in the planning and execution of the Parish Development Model, partners with the private sector so that we complement each other. So the government has the funds, it has the mobilization tools, it can get to the households, yes, but the private sector has the skills and the experience of market-led type development. So once the production is done, we have to ensure, say, if Amuru focuses on producing maize, because they're going to do this cluster type production or agriculture produce. If it focuses on producing maize, but the households, after they harvest the maize, they're putting it on the ground, the standard is automatically destroyed. And then they're all producing maize at the same time. Who's buying that maize? So that's where the private sector, we need that partnership to be able to leverage our strengths. So the government supports in the Parish Development Model, providing the funds, the mobilization, but then the it partners with the private sector to ensure that when production happens, it has to be the right standard of production is done, the right crop is produced, and then it's collected. We need consolidation in those areas. You need logistics, you need storage. But we already have the private sector doing that anyway. So once we partner, we're able to know that by time X, if this parish is producing this particular product, then we will have these volumes of this particular product. Now the private sector can say, okay, if I am Mukwano and I know they're going to provide, say, produce sunflower in Amuru or Mbale of these many tonnage in the next 9 months, do I have the market for it? Can I get a new distributor in South Sudan? How do I engage them? How do I ensure that they produce the right quality that I want, that then I can use in my factory? So those are the partnerships we need. So we need that partnership. So we therefore need to be engaged as the private sector, because that's what we do. We do business. We turn 1 shilling into 2 shillings. So, but if the government puts in all this money to support productivity at household level, but then there is no one to buy, market, sell this stuff, then everyone will produce at household level, but there'll be no one to sell it. The private sector, for example, last month we went to the DRC. We partnered with government. It was a public-private partnership. We went to DRC with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MIACA, Ministry of Trade, then Uganda Investment Authority, Uganda Export Promotion Boards, Uganda manufacturers. We entered the DRC market to look at what is the gap there, what can we offer them, what do we have to sell to them, okay, what can they also sell to us, but most importantly, what can we sell to them? Then we took our businesses, they be the business-to-business deals. Now, if we are involved in the Parish Development Model, our businesses can come back and say, okay, so in the next 12 months, what is going to happen? We have gaps in DRC. What can we sell to them? How do we sort out the logistics to ensure that these products that are going to be produced at whatever parish are able to come to my factory, I add value to it, then I sell it to DRC. But if we're not involved, then we can't make those kind of plans. And yet, government is catalyzing the supply of agricultural products. But we need the demand side of it, and that's where the private sector comes in. And this is always, it's two parts of the same coin. You can catalyze supply, but if there is no demand, it fails. We may have the demand, but if there is no supply, we fail. And yet, if we partner together, then it's a win-win. Then we really have a private sector-led development type economy. If we catalyze production, and then the private sector adds value, it produces, it automatically creates jobs, there is more VAT charged, the economy grows, so then it's a win-win. But if the private sector is not involved, then it's much more difficult for this model to win, and yet it could win.
The private sector now knows that this has been launched, government is providing resources, it's mainly for the agricultural sector, so definitely on the supply side, these, those products are going to be available. Can't the private sector now start, preparing from that point?
Yes, we need what is it called, deliberate engagement. So we need private sector foundation as, the apex body of the private sector, engaged in discussion with government in the room, in the boardrooms, in those discussions to say, okay, so where is this money going? Which parishes are being demarcated to produce what? Remember, so from the Parish Development Model, I know that they're going to cluster production. It will be Mbale producing hypothetically matoke. We, private sector, need to know that before the matoke is actually produced. And then we can advise that actually maybe Mbale is a better place to produce honey. And it has a bigger market, it has a good soils, it has good bees. It's that engagement, that discussion has to happen before the implementation. Or even now, fine, implementation has begun, but that discussion still has to be had. Also, we could say, yes, you're going to produce matoke in Mbale. Where is the logistic? Maybe the bigger market for matoke is DRC. So we need our logistics players, the guys who are in transport and logistics, to know that, to make sure that they are there when production turns up. We also need to make sure that the guys who are in agro-processing, the right matoke variety is the one that is being farmed. So they could come in and say, actually, for us, this is the variety we want for my production. And if this parish or this entire district is going to be producing matoke, then can we distribute our matoke variety that we need? Right. But this all has to happen in the planning, not after the fact. Because otherwise production is going to happen and everyone will produce and no one will be there to buy or consolidate.
Mr. Burora, if I hear the other two guests well, none of them is saying this is bad, but they're talking about the handling. They're talking about, sufficient planning and preparation. In fact, Honorable used the word rushed. Why was this rushed? Shouldn't we have planned better to ensure that it actually succeeds, that all the stakeholders are brought on board, or as many as possible are brought on board, to almost guarantee the success of this initiative?
Well, I really agree that maybe there could have been more consultations in regard to this. But you see, the challenge we have is that the need, the demand for what we are trying to put in place is so high and worrying. And I think, like my sister has well put, that the private sector needs an engagement, which is true. But I think it's not too late. And the doors are not yet closed, and they are not going to be closed in any way. And what I want us to realize that since everyone is in agreement that it is important to have these initiatives in place. Each of us can find where we are fit and what we can contribute to this. If you look at like the agriculture sector, which is looking at the value chain engagements that have not been in place in coffee, in maize, most especially those two products, and they have an implication on the market once the processes have not been handled well. And this very it has been, we have had so many seasons of coffee, and actually the OWC almost doubled the production of the agricultural products. That's why when you look critically since 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, we have had a very steady supply of agricultural products on the market, to the extent that we are now competing in the region, and we have a very, very good market price, and which has brought us problems with some of our neighbors.
Yeah, the problems go beyond that. You know, quality issues.
Yeah, besides the quality, sometimes the quality is cited for technical grounds, but not the reality. Though I agree that the quality also is a little bit lacking. So what we are going to focus on is we are going to have to agree that we cannot force or dictate or focus on luring people into participating. But since this is a national agenda, it's a national initiative, it is demanding, I think it would be prudent, and I would request that my sister and the private sector in general, if we can look for where to patch, if we can look for where to add value.
Uninvited.
No, because what we are saying is that right now,
you see,
let me give you my point. We are saying that whether you want it or not, the private sector will depend on these initiatives. The Parish Development Model is just coming to enhance what is existing. It is coming to add value. But the way the private sector has been participating, in this time we need their advice to say, hey, in the past you have been doing this, because actually they are better suitable to do that, being an independent entity.
Then it's very surprising that you notice this when that's why I agreed.
That's why I agreed that it is true. Some of these things have been, some of the sins we are being accused of, it is for a fact that we have committed them. But you are not going to cast us away. You are going to have to deal with us anyway, with our weaknesses, with our shortcomings, with our problems. We shall have to accommodate each other. Why I'm saying that they are best suitable to recommend or guide us, because even in the framing of this, we would also like that, I don't know whether it has happened or whether it has not, but we would also wish to see that in the middle of all this, in the midst of the happenings and what, we would like to see private sector coming in and say, hey, we are consuming products that you're funding, but we think what you're doing is contrary to what is needed in the marketplace. And therefore, can you going forward do this way? Because when we want, if we are to say that we invite this, and you are going to find that the list is endless.
It's interesting that I've actually had the president say something of that sort. Let's produce fast.
Yes.
And then,
yes, producing is fine.
What's the point of throwing money to, if you could get the very best out of investing that money, why not make sure that you do so?
But I think what you're missing is that whether we safeguard each and everything, challenges are imminent. Challenges are constant.
But those that we can
Contradictions
anticipate
are constant.
and deal with, we should
For
do
example,
so in the
we
beginning.
can safeguard each and everything, the quality, the what. We get worms. We can say we have now shielded this and that, we have a drought. So what we are saying, and what I am thinking and picking from the stakeholders or the key planners of these projects, is that though I admit, sometimes there is laziness in one way or the other. Sometimes there is this person who is going to sleep on the job and overlook here and there. But the Baganda would say, tetujja kuzira. And I don't want private sector to sit and kuzira. I don't want Honorable Bali Mwezo to say, akati nafe tubizize. No, this is not a project that is enriching a few. And even when it is turned into enriching a few, none of us should keep quiet.
Well,
so
on that one,
let's
enriching
in brief,
a few.
Yeah, in brief, I think since we agree that we have this problem, the omwana gwe tuzadde wa bango, what do? We accommodate, we clean this person, make him a better person, fit for society.
All right. We're going to come back and just hear from each of the panelists on the things that need to be done in order to make sure that even where we're at, we can get the very best out of the program. But there's something that Mr. Burora just mentioned on, the people, who is involved and who is not. From the way it's being implemented, do the people feel like this program is actually for them, without special categorization?
Actually, there is little knowledge out there on the ground about this project. Yes, they know parish model, but when you go down, information has not trickled to the very people that actually were planned for. I'm telling you this. I'm on the ground. You have seen how my shoes looked like. I was on the ground up to the time I left to come here. So I know what is happening on the ground. No single member of parliament is knowledgeable about this program because we are not lectured. We are not sensitized about the program. But look, we are the people going to do oversight.
Well, the speaker actually asked you to go out into your constituencies. And yes.
Yes, because as members of parliament, particularly the opposition, had a minority on this. But, parliament is parliament, and the majority are NRM. When they push the money, we have to do our oversight role. So we cannot say we are not, because we did not agree on how it should be done. We have to come and do our role as members of parliament to see that there is value for money. Even that little money that has come, let us see that it is used for the very purpose that it was intended. Yeah. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, watching, we are not going to keep seated. We are going to go out there and get you, whip you in case you are misusing this money.
The parishes are more than 10,000.
Yes, unfortunately, when you compare the population of Uganda, parishes in Uganda, we have 1,701 parishes in Uganda, and we have a population of almost 12 million people, according to the census, previous census. But there are regions like the East that has a mere 8 million. But it's going to be almost doubling parishes in Uganda. So when you look at the equity, is there equity?
Well, we'll come to those issues of equity. I believe one of the things that was said about that is, let's begin, and let's put money where the people are at the parish level. Well, we, as private sector, yes, it's really going to be upon you to pick these products up and take them to the next level. But you've been engaging, you know, with those that have been producing. Has money been the main problem?
Well, it's both ways, yes. Sometimes money is the problem. Sometimes the quality of standards is a problem. Sometimes the lack of market is a problem. Sometimes it's the weather. The point is that this is what we do as the private sector. We are in the business of doing business. So we know what it is to do business. So we have to be involved. If we're going to catalyze production, we have to be involved to do the business of what happens after production. It's the market what leads it. And I'm glad that, of course, the PDM has just started. We would love to be, of course, formally engaged. I mean, we can't invite ourselves into engagement. Formally requested and engaged.
You have been invited by the presidential representatives.
Invited to review the Parish Development Model. We can do a diagnostic study where we're identifying the areas in which the private sector can be involved to make sure this thing works. We leverage our two skills. We leverage the government infrastructure and, you know, all the power it has. We leverage the innovativeness, the business and entrepreneurial skills of the private sector to do this together for the country. That way it is a win-win. Government is putting in all this money to catalyze productivity, household incomes, young people, women, fantastic. Now let the private sector come in and do what the private sector does, which is sell, turn 1 shilling into 2 shillings, export, you know, pay VAT, create some more employment, add value to the agricultural produce, make sure that the products are quality standards, the people are trained appropriately to produce them. You know, let's use our strength. So government doesn't have to redo the things the private sector does. Private sector doesn't have to do the things government does. But when we partner, we turn 2 + 2 into 5. And it's a win for both of us.
And have you been doing that with the other initiatives, your WEP for the women, you know, youth livelihood, Operation Wealth Creation, because these have been there, and yes, many of them have had enterprises in the agricultural sector.
Yes, no, so that's why we're trying to make sure that we come in formally in the Parish Development Model. And the reason we are really now very, very serious about it is that we are in partnership with government to open regional markets with our neighbors. So government did draws into DRC. It is providing security into DRC. It has bilateral agreements. The DRC is going to join the East African community. Even before it joined, we exported $500 million worth of stuff to the DRC. The potential that market has is critical. We've partnered with government to actually enter that market. So there are several initiatives where we partnered with government to do these things to make sure that Uganda wins as a whole. So that's the same partnership we want, a public-private partnership in the implementation, the planning, implementation, and execution of the Parish Development Model, where we all utilize our strengths. So government doesn't have to do what private sector does, private sector doesn't do what government does, but we work together to make sure household incomes are indeed catalyzed, poor people are indeed reduced, but there's a market. Also, the other thing we need to remember, especially in agriculture, when farmers have a bumper harvest of maize this season, and the people who are supposed to buy the maize and sell it over don't buy it, next season the farmers will not grow the maize. So we'll have a bumper productivity at one time. Then if the private sector is not involved, there will be people will lose all their agricultural produce. It will get spoiled. No one will buy it. Next season they will not have produced. So we need to think through that. We had a private sector dialogue last week where we're talking about wheat prices, the impact of wheat prices. So the people who use wheat in Uganda, where now like the hot loaves, the Antake, who produce bread, who use wheat, they can't afford the wheat price anymore. They are looking at using cassava. They've already developed formulas. They've tested it. Ugandans can actually eat bread made of cassava. The issue now is that they actually don't have enough cassava on the market. They don't have anyone to buy from the kind of quantities they want. So we also look at...
They'll start and produce for like a month and it'll be done.
And so we need to look at also those trends. We have now the oil prices are very high. Oil prices have an impact on the cost of anything that is going to be transported. Who is thinking through those, the current trends, the current markets? all that is what happens with us, private sector. So when we partner with government, we think through those things and then figure out a way to make it work as government does what government does. So this public-private partnership through the Parish Development Model is critical. And we want to do formally invited, and then, yes, it has to be formally invited, and then also we can do a diagnostic
Don't waste
survey.
your time, you have been invited.
Take the invitation, show up and start to participate.
I think Damari.
That's how NRM does things.
I think Damari and the private sector, in one way or the other, I'm just thinking, this is my thinking, and this is not a position of government. It is my thinking. I'm just making a disclaimer. They are asking for too much. Why? Because government has entirely placed business in their hands. Government has entrusted the private sector with entirely almost everything. So instead of government again leading in managing the private sector,
you're waiting to be invited. You invited.
I think it would be in my thinking. In my I think it should be the other way around. The private sector should be guiding government on where to focus, because they are in the market. They are leading the production. They know what the market needs. They know where the market is. They know where the good prices are. They know how to improve quality. Everything, because they are participants. So in this, actually, I would sit as government and wait for the private sector to guide me where to invest, because they are experts in most of these things. So I think if we are to apportion blame, we are going to find that...
But you have not consulted them.
No, it's not about consulting.
Well, he's saying
I'm saying...
They've already entrusted private sector.
Yeah, we have already, because...
So private sector is the one that should make the move towards government, other than government. Government is busy doing other things.
Yeah, government has entirely privatized almost everything that it has. Everything into the private sector. And I think the private sector, in one way or the other, is sleeping on the job. Because it should be able now to depend, because we are not in the market. We are anticipating in the market. Now, we are here trying to do also what they could have been doing, to lead production, to focus our interest, to prioritize as a country, to say now, according to the trends, to the statistics in the market, this is where the market is headed. This is how much we need, because now we have to go do research. After research, come back, do implementation. Now when we start implementation, the private sector, hey, stop. Wait. You have not consulted me. I think here, because here you were asking what should we do. In the process of asking ourselves what should we do, it is at this opportune time that we should be asking the role of each sector in the development of this country. The development of this country cannot entirely depend on government. Government is going to commit mistakes because it is participating in matters that it is not practicing. Now, it is going to come and dictate, make mistakes, make miscalculations, put more taxes on certain things that are not taxable.
Is government ready to listen?
Why not?
Because private sector has tried to get to the table.
No.
The opposition, especially in parliament, has tried to get government to answer certain questions. And it seems like government has been adamant and just moving with what its plan is on Parish Development Model.
My brother, I have not been here long enough. But I have seen enough. The spirit of my brother and others of my brother Barimweza and the company is not a good spirit, most especially for government services. Why? Government services, once they flourish, are not a good ground for them to participate in politics.
My God,
it's not a blackmail.
What a state.
It is for the fact. So
what a state. I've been working with him closely. At one time he said if the country had the Balimwezo.
No. Yes, you see, Balimwezo is, I'm not, but I worked with Balimwezo.
He and Nakawa.
We agreed. We had to sit and agree.
Yes.
And so what I'm trying to put across is that we need to sit down and diagnose this thing called development, and each of us
plays our part.
Plays
in
their
that.
part.
All right. We
and
need to take.
Wait, if we don't do that, we are going to keep calling these government programs.
All
but
right.
in actual sense, these programs are supposed to empower each and every nerve of this country to make sure that the flow, either of the currency or of the peace or of the democracy or of the development, is flowing freely. But at the moment, certain veins are blocked.
All right.
And they are not participating directly in what they want actually to see. And this is what we think we need to sit down and break these egos and break these fragments and bring them into one piece.
All right.
In order to have a formidable program that can benefit the country.
We need to take a break at this point, but after the break we will continue the discussion. Remember that if you'd like to contribute, use any of the social media platforms. Just remember to use the hashtag CTV Big Debate so that we're able to see your comment. We'll return after these messages.
The first edition of the PPDA Business Expo is here. Join us from the 8th to the 10th of July 2022 at Kolo Independence Grounds. We will unveil the annual government procurement plan and awards. Come network with 35,000 certified businesses. Attend the EGP training and engagement with key decision makers. Together, let's exhibit, network, collaborate, and grow. This message is brought to you by PPDA in partnership with FIPRO, PSFU, Isuzu, Fireworks Advertising, and
CTV. Don't blink. CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink. CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back from the break. Thank you for staying with us here on the Big Debate. I'm your host, Igoma Gabriel. Today we're looking at the Parish Development Model, a 1.1 trillion initiative, at least for this financial year. It was launched by the President. Ministers, members of Parliament, and other leaders are out in the field sensitizing people, getting ready to get these funds flowing as the government seeks to get 39% of our population that is still in subsistence into the money economy. Some of those, yes, may be participating in the money economy, but their participation is so low that it's not captured by the different indicators that show growth. Well, we have three guests. I will start from my extreme right, the Honorable Ronald Balimweso Nakawa, East Member of Parliament. Right next to him, Mr. Burora Herbert Anderson, Deputy RCC, Kampala, Lubaga in particular. And right next to me, Ms. Damali Sali, Chief Programs Officer, Private Sector Foundation of Uganda. Well, we did leave off when Anderson, you know, basically said the private sector is sleeping on the job and it's asking for too much. Government has given you leeway, you know.
We give them the goat, they also
want the rope. Well, Damali, would like to get your response to that.
Well, I will not apportion blame. I shall not go there.
Because you're trying to get invited.
Exactly.
You may say things and not get invited.
Exactly. So I will not apportion blame. But at least I'm happy to see that at least the representative of government is saying, indeed, private sector is important, private sector should be engaged, and private sector should be part of this. And we're certainly looking forward to that, because it's critical that we are, of course, involved. As the government's own policy is that they want industrialization. We want agro-industrialization. We want agro-processing. So we need to ensure that whatever policies that we are doing, whatever PDM that we are doing, we have to ensure that the entire value chains are captured in that way. And if you look, for example, even at logistics and transport, this is a sector that catalyzes the engine that moves everything. So we are hoping that, or at least we are happy that government recognizes that private sector is important. Government recognizes that private sector-led the development is what it wants, and that the private sector voice is critical into this. So I shall not apportion blame, but I'm glad that that recognition is there.
All right. Well, Honorable,
yes,
you did mention this in your opening remarks.
Yes.
Some of, some of the other initiatives that government has started, to alleviate poverty,
yes,
have been, dogged or looked at as political. And that has definitely affected how the program is received, the way the program is run, and how the program actually delivers, how it performs. Are those issues that have been dealt with in this case?
Absolutely not. If today you had visited a launch, you'd realize that actually over 80% of the people that attended were NRM, donned with caps of NRM. So this is already a political program. And you will see people saying that, no, Mam Museveni at what day? President Museveni, Abazukulu about what day? President Museveni, and the people are making noise and shouting at the top of their voices. But like I did say, it is quite important for us to plan. One time I was seated with the ambassador of Korea, not Korea, Japan, and he told me in Japan, planning is very, very critical. Before you execute anything, before you begin anything, do planning.
PDM is part of our National Development Plan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
NDP
but
3,
I think it had no policy at all. Even by the time they launched it, it had no policy. And therefore, it was rushed. Planning is very, very important. And as you're aware that each community has its own social and economic challenges. Therefore, we should have done this in a structured manner. Talking about the peasants out there. And here you're talking about, we also have peasants here, but dealing with different things altogether. I told you we have chapat vendors here. We have cassava vendors. We have Batembe selling this and that. There you have people planting kasoli. They're peasants, cassava and so on. And here it's quite different. So how have you planned for them? Is the plan structured? We have over stressed financial inclusion. But it's not the only pillar.
Yes, just one of 7 pillars.
One of the 7 pillars. We are talking about production, storage, processing, and marketing. That's one pillar.
Yes.
Talk about infrastructure development. Talk about mindset change. How much have you done on that? Have you changed the mindset of these people? Actually, to know that it's not a political program, it's a program to remove you from that.
Actually, if we could just ask the RCC very quickly. Yes, the pillars are 7. Why did we seem to be rushing particularly on the financial inclusion pillar? Because yes, we could have rolled out, but with the others, you know, starting with mindset change and the other things.
You see, mindset, most of those pillars are complementary. They move hand in hand. And they cannot be isolated. Second, the mindset we are talking about, as I don't know whether I talked about it, but this project or program is not for the 45 million Ugandans. It is for the 39% households that are not involved in household income. And in any way, the basics that we intend to start with, first of all, as we move, because even I will not change your mindset on what is absent. And I am not inventing you. I am not inventing a new you. I am just improving the existing you. So this means that we are dealing already with something that is existing, but improving it or adding value to it.
All right.
The 39% is also not the 39 of the general population. It is 39 of, I wish I had dug out clearly the figures of, to get out exactly who are the 39 we are talking about. But I told you the 39 are people whose income is not less than 15,000 shillings, who averagely are 10,000 shillings per day.
Per day?
Yes.
Now.
Who are averagely. These are people we are targeting. And you see, these people are people who already have either something they are doing or are people who can be involved in something.
Do you know that these groups have been formed particularly because you have said these are the people you're targeting?
No, because they are existing. I'm telling you, actually, this is what we are going back to audit.
Give us facts on that.
This is what we are going back to audit. I have personally had reservations with the formations of some of the circles, personally. And I am moving back, for example, in Rubaga, to go back and see who has been targeted. Because
the interesting thing is you are the RCC.
Yes, I am. You have doubt about it?
No.
Yeah.
We're saying that the parish chief is the one going to be in charge of this thing.
Yes, but I am the supervisor.
We're saying we're moving the
no,
control
I am just,
and whatever from
let
that
me tell
level,
you,
taking it further down.
Do you have a programs director here?
Yes, I do.
What is his role?
Well, he's speaking to me and giving, you know.
You
yes.
get it. So that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't have to go and form. I just have to make sure that those who are forming these circles are actually doing what is right. I don't have to be there. And why I'm saying that I am doing an audit, I am now going back. You have formed, but have you formed the right people? Have you grouped the right people? Because human nature demands.
At what point will this be? Before they get the money or after they've gotten it and spent
No, even if, for example, I'll give you an example. You know, the Myoga are ongoing. I have already stopped the issuance of the withdrawal of money from Myoga circles. To redo an audit is the spirit for which we started this program still on, or it died. So, irrespective of what time, I think something right can be done.
Okay. Because of time, I'd like to skip to something. You mentioned earlier on that on, you know, the committee is an NRM.
Yes.
Don't you think that gives it political connotations and therefore will make certain people stay away and also make people interpret that this is like what the MP is saying?
It is.
I am
not.
token.
I don't want. I know this is a national television. I can't shy it away that we have an NRM government. It is for a fact. We don't have no vacuum. We have no vacuum in leadership. The current national leadership of this country is NRM. You cannot victimize it. You cannot outplay it. That is one. Two, the current national social contract existing for 5 years, now 4 years, was done in the spirit and favor of NRM. So it has to track its service delivery trail. Along the trail, if these people come and abuse it, there are those who are there to whip them. If they come and they want to abuse the project, they can be whipped. But human nature deserves that given an opportunity, one will take advantage. Where we have failed this is when we don't do, with the supervisors, we don't do what is right. It is like when you are telling me that since you're going to, you are sending people in the field, you don't want to wear the logos of CTV. Shouldn't government participate in the service delivery dissemination of its programs? I think those are victimization or something.
Let me get Honorable's quick comment on that, but I realize you seem to know quite a bit about the way things run in the media. Many of your comments are coming, and examples are coming from, you know, our trade.
What did I tell you at the start? I told you he's here because of that very purpose, and you shouldn't ask yourself questions. What was your question?
Your very quick comment on, you know, the implication of having an NRM person on the committee, and he says, you know, yes, the NRM did win the last election, formed government. It was the NRM manifesto to be implemented. It's being implemented, therefore, yes, there should be a person on the committees to monitor whether, yeah, things are being delivered the way the NRM, you know, has promised and purposed for them to be.
You know, now parties are like businesses, and they want to create opportunities for their own people. And this is one of the ways. Because
the people who are Ugandans.
Because you know that every village has an NRM who was at one time left out. You know how he was selected to be a president representative. As we are saying that we don't need many of these, the president sees it that they need jobs, and therefore he must call him from whatever he is to give him a job as a token. Right. As a token. So these are tokens. It's a constitutional right. Given to these members of the ruling party to basically be part of those that are going to eat the cake. So, like I did tell you, point of order.
Moderator.
Yes, sir.
I would wish to correct Honorable Balimwezo that Article 203 of the Constitution provides that there shall be a residence district commissioner. It's not a token. It is a constitutional
I'm now talking
creation.
About this NRM member, not him. I'm talking about the NRM member that is on the committee, actually, that a committee that was not thought on wisely. You are aware that I gave you a background of the first amount of money that was expended on the youth livelihood program.
Yes.
And you cannot trace how
recovery was at 40% for financial year 2019.
So you cannot trace the 60%. And is aware about this. But majority of this money was taken by NRM cadres that you could not actually pursue. Why? Because these guys said they are going to kill the party. And these were the youths, the vibrant youths in NRM that ate this money. But you could not, you know, pursue them because you would kill the party. So similarly, this is how these programs are going to die because of political interference, and so on and so forth.
All right. One of the things we need to talk about is, you know, despite the way things are happening, how do we then get the best out of this program? Because it's happening and doesn't look like it's going to be stopped. And
I had, when you talk about financial inclusion, my brother here is aware of a certain program that actually government brought. It was very, very good. This is the Uganda Youth Capital Venture Fund. You're aware of that? Where you actually, government puts money in a bank, and you come get recommendations. Okay? Then
people complain that the processes were quite cumbersome.
they were actually not.
They were.
They were not. Compared to how the other projects were. People, Ugandans, don't want to work. They want quick money. If you wanted to see serious people, tell them that they are going to study for a full month. For those that are going to get money, you will see, you will get just a handful. People don't want, they want quick money. So, for me, I managed to use the system and in a good manner to secure loans for about 370 people to get loans from the bank. And they are now riding their motorbikes. It was, at least we are able to pay almost all, apart from those whose motorbikes were stolen. But it was a very, very good project. Well, you can a little change it, but make sure that at least this money is put in the bank, so that that bank finds ways of reclaiming back the money, revolving the money.
Back to that actually goes straight back to the role of private sector. And
perhaps
actually,
will give us a better.
I'd actually like to I'd like you to respond to the question I asked previously. But private sector is in the business of making money. It is see the opportunities and basically bring your capital, bring your expertise, and link market to where the produce is. With the way this has been set up, are we going to reap a benefit? Have we put in place, mechanism to make sure that that benefit is actually gotten and sustained?
Okay. From my perspective, it should have started with where is the market, and then worked backward. We do have a model actually at Private Sector Foundation that we are implementing, which is a lead farm model. So we look at where is the market, who is exporting, do they still have a gap, do they have extra capacity? So we say Mukwana, for example, they're doing edible oils. They're serving the domestic market, the regional market, the international market. They're already employing people. Do they have spare capacity? Yes, they do have spare capacity. They actually need more inputs. Okay, then we work backward. Which SMEs need to feed them? How many outgrowers do they need? How many people do they need to employ? Do those people need the seeds, the right inputs? Do they need training? Then you work backwards. So in a way, as we are doing this Parish Development Model, especially around these value chains, it's critical that we look at what does the market need right now? What does it need? And which market? If you look at DRC, actually when we went to DRC, they said they needed offals. Who knew they needed offals? Vienda. They need offals. So then you work
Interestingly,
backwards. Yes.
URA knew this because I was at a URA event when the budget was being discussed, and they said one of the pieces of information they picked up that was relatively surprising was that we were exporting a lot of offals to DRC.
Okay. Now, that's now where you get this market-led type of production. You look at the market, where is the gap, then work backwards. That way you're guaranteed to sell your product. And that way it's sustainable because the farmer won't wake up, have their goats. This season they have no one to sell, to buy at the right price. Next season they're not doing it. And that's what's been happening. Whenever we have a bumper harvest of maize this season and no one buys or the prices drop, next season we actually don't have maize because the farmers just stop growing the maize. So, but if you look from the market, who are we selling to? What are we selling them? Do they have spare capacity to buy more? Then you work backwards to produce that. Then you're able to keep it sustainable.
This money is going to be given to, people.
Enterprises.
Yes, enterprises. And this money has got to grow.
Yes, it has to multiply.
It is a
And they will need to pay interest. At least that's what the Prime Minister has said. Is the capacity to do that there?
Okay, because they're talking about this mindset change, but who is providing the mindset change? Is the person providing the mindset change business minded? Is that person the person who does business, who is in the business of doing business? Or is it a person who doesn't normally do business that is now being tasked with providing mindset change
Sending
on how
Anderson
to
tell
do
people
business?
about making money.
I actually
When he knows how to mobilize people.
So, and that's what Anderson should do, should mobilize. Then we, the private sector, who know about business, who do business, who know the pitfalls, can do the mindset change around business, entrepreneurship, innovation, all that stuff. So that's why I'm looking for the partnership.
It looks like at the very least, private sector is going to get invited to Rubaga.
No, I'm going to invite private sector to Rubaga to train us for as long as you are patriotic enough and don't charge us.
Honorable, you deal a lot with the people.
It's his business.
This money is it's coming. How do we ensure that it's put to the best use? Yes, we've talked about the weaknesses, but at the end of the day, people are going to take this money.
Yeah.
They're going to have to give it back.
Yes.
They're actually supposed to give it back with an interest.
Yes.
How do we make sure that this actually happens and we don't have instances of people relocating from
My
villages
will agree
and people
with me.
ending up in prisons?
My brother will agree with me that actually we have been together, and I remember him and I trying to pursue some of these young people who had taken the youth livelihood funds, and they had run away. We are working with a system where basically you're giving people who have nowhere to work from. Don't think it's a small thing. I told you that every area has its own economic and social challenges. I would better utilize this money, for starters, to construct decent workspaces for these enterprises. Because when you come to Kampala now, you're talking about the chapat makers, talking about the
But are those actually going to benefit from this money?
Yeah.
They are the people supposed to
They are
benefit.
the primary
Actually, these are the
beneficiaries.
enterprises that are being spoken about.
They are the primary beneficiaries.
But they have nowhere to work from. And here you have, let me not call them goons, law enforcement officers that are working according to the laws. They're not supposed to be on the streets. So, and you have given
So you
people,
have government money.
You have government money.
Money given by, by government,
But government
to do an enterprise, but you're not being allowed to do it because...
do it within that area.
No, we are being, I think Honorable Balimwezo is not being fair on this. We are simply saying that in as much as you are the head of the family, we don't expect you to find you sleeping in the kitchen, because purportedly you're the head
Now
of the family.
provide me
So-
the bed.
Yeah, so he
Provide me
says
a
provide
bedroom.
the decent working places,
Provide me a
areas where these
bedroom.
people are going to work from before you give them money,
And the-
they go and invest and
And by the way,
We have-
by the way, this is your role, to provide me where I'm going to sleep,
We have
because it's a fundamental right.
we have two categories of vendors for which he's talking about. My brother, I'll let you know that in the previous few months ago, we had vendors who had more capital than shop owners. But simply because this person is going to evade taxes, is going to evade bills, this and that, they can afford to go where there is free space. But There is where there is provided space. Even when the space is provided, it has to be facilitated. It has to be taken care of. What I don't want us to encourage citizens and Ugandans is to assume that there is free everything.
No, but
that there is free space for that, there is free space for this. It's not possible. Secondly, we agree that not everywhere is a workspace. Not everywhere you are going to see space is a workspace. This space is provided for certain things. If it is a road, this road has been designed for certain things. So I think Honorable Barimwezo
now you are challenging your boss who has just made a statement today and warning Muchala, the ED, Chisaka. She was warned today by the Prime Minister not to touch those people working on the streets if they are given money.
But you realize some of this is just politics.
Now that's the reason I say that this is political. It's a political program. Therefore, you know, but in actual sense, you cannot tell people I'm going to give you money and you don't give them where they're going to work.
The space is there.
Where, for example,
Space
in Nakawa,
is
we
there.
have been,
Space
for some good time.
Space is
Tell
there.
me where in Nakawa.
Okay, I will begin because I've been in Nakawa.
Yes.
You and I know.
Yes.
No, this is good for the public.
Okay.
You and I know.
Let's make it brief then.
Yeah, you and I know that 70% of the people selling matoke, cassava, what on the roadside, they have stores in the market.
Where? Which market?
Nakawa market.
Nakawa market.
I'm saying 70%. Now there is.
Nakawa market is full.
No, there is.
It's full itself. Altogether, but there are these over 30,000 people on the streets.
Let me ask
Actually,
for the space.
we are supposed to have a market per parish. Chitindale market that I launched about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it is still not worked on. Chitindale Mutungo Parish, the biggest in the country, has no single market. Absolutely. Luzira has no single market, legal market. We only have Bulgolobi as a legal market, and with only 800 stores. Now tell me, where are you going to put these people that you're giving the money?
So
if you don't want them to work on the streets at least for a year or two,
I think
so
what
that
you
they can
what
accumulate
Honorable
capital as you construct decent workspaces.
I agree with Honorable in one way or the other.
Thank you.
The only thing we need to look at is what is our participatory role, and that's what I think I had raised earlier.
Yes.
We all have to come down from wherever we are. Some of us are very far, some of us are lost somewhere, some of us are wandering somewhere, but we are all looking for answers.
Okay.
That's why I said earlier that planning is very critical, and you call all key stakeholders together because two heads are better than one.
All right.
But
now government took it upon themselves to even leave out a critical stakeholder.
Let's come to the critical stakeholder.
Are we going to hold our breath until the planning process is over, or we are going to keep breathing and planning?
That's where we are going.
Hand in hand.
All right.
Let's back to YROP.
Let's hear from
where we lost monies.
Let's hear from
because of lack of planning.
We actually have to bring this to a close, and I will come to you for a parting shot. But before we do that, for where we are at, what are some of those things that we can plug right now? Okay,
there are several things actually we could plug, because I know that part of the Parish Development Model, especially I keep focusing on agriculture because it's easy to explain. But so we need to do a proper analysis on what what market are we targeting, what does the market need, and then work backwards to target then those value chains and target them in those locations where they have a comparative advantage. So if Mbale does coffee, but then where is the coffee going, and who is in that entire value chain, and where is the private sector in that entire value chain, and how can they plug in? Does government need to do storage and warehouses and logistics? No, it doesn't, because we already have the private sector in that space. And if there is a component of mindset change, then why isn't the private sector doing that? We're the ones who know how to turn 1 shilling into 2 shillings. You want these people, if you give them your 1 shilling, to be able to turn it into 2 shillings, to be able to pay back. So we're the ones who have to train them to that mindset change should be us. So I feel like the quickest thing that we can possibly do is to get the private sector and government to sit and look at the model and say, okay, let's do a diagnostic review and see where can the private sector plug in, and then we work together, because we are obviously ready to work, together to make this work. It benefits us, benefits the private sector when the thing works, because then we get our inputs, we get able to produce more and export more.
All right.
Yes.
Honorable, if I may come to you and allow me to start by saying, he did make a comment earlier on stating that if things like this are successful, the opposition will not take them well. So I'm asking you a question.
Actually, it's not a lie. In Kawempe, they are openly demobilizing, actually beating people who are registering with Parish Development Model.
All right. And unfortunately, I don't have
So
details
it's not
on
a lie.
that, so I don't know if it's true or not.
It is a lie.
But Honorable, if I may ask, with the way things are happening, what are some of the areas where you think, can be plugged so that we all benefit,
Yeah, this is, like I did tell you on the onset, that actually we disagreed on the way this thing was being done.
Yes.
But as members
But
of
now
Parliament,
what do we do?
Yes, but as members of Parliament, we say now we are in a position and we need, basically, this is a government program. We need to do our oversight role, and that's the reason that we are here, to make sure that actually this program goes on well and benefits our communities. And that's what we're doing. But like I did advise, opposition is not an enemy. It's an alternative. And that's the reason that we bring alternatives. The only challenge is that because of their numbers, they don't want even to listen to good alternatives. For example, he has cleared me and said, yes, we needed better planning, because planning is critical. But we didn't do planning. How can you launch a program that has no even policy? How do you move ahead with no guiding principles?
All right.
So it's important to realize that when an opposition brings their mind together to advise, you accept, so that we move together. There are programs that were brought by opposition, and the government is utilizing them. I have given you one single one that I personally initiated, the presidential initiative, as my own project, and the government took it on.
All right.
And now they are selling because of that.
Some of the things that the opposition...
UPE was opposition program.
No.
It was taken on by NRA.
So the opposition is suggesting...
We are supposed to check government. Are we together? And that's our role. But here in Uganda, when you check government, they call you an enemy. No.
All right. Because of time, let me just skip to this. Well, you realize the situation that is pertaining in Uganda and world over. You're going to give people money when they cannot afford food, they cannot afford fuel. How are you going to ensure that they actually use this money for production when they have day-to-day needs?
Fees.
I plant maize and wait for a number of months, yet I have no meal for today.
School fees.
Yeah, actually, this is, if you have 1.1 trillion shillings being decentralized to almost the lowest unit of the country, this alone helps you in the circulation and availability and procurement and what, because procurement is done locally. So this also will help in boosting the currency in circulation.
Okay, but that doesn't
But also
take care of the
this,
day-to-day needs
what
of the people you're
people-
going to give money.
Yeah, what people what we are coming to facilitate is to make sure that people increase or add on their income. But also, it is not true that when people are supported, some of them you will get a percentage that will divert the money, but there is also a percentage that critically think that once they enhanced on their capital, which is the essence of mindset change, to teach people that actually you don't eat the seed. You be patient and wait for the harvest. Okay. Once you eat the seed, you won't harvest. Okay. So the issue of everything that must succeed must checked during hard times. And if we are investing this money in hard times and people still don't pick it up, I was on a media house earlier on, and this is what we are trying to interrogate. Government has done its role to bring what is aimed at enhancing and improving the livelihood of people. What we need to look at now is what is the participation of Anderson, of a councillor, of a mayor, of an MP, irrespective of their political shade.
All right, we have to leave it there with you. Let me just I promised you a parting shot, so very briefly, because I have about a minute.
Okay, thank you so much. And we definitely, as private sector, we're looking forward to being engaged so that we can gainfully participate in the program. Yes. And then we can bring our competences, our strength in what we do. We do business. So we should be engaged in the business of doing business.
All right. Honorable, your parting shot.
Come again?
Your parting shot, your last word.
My last word is that we should prepare our people. And we need basically to begin with mindset change.
Okay.
After mindset change, as we do mindset change, let us capture data. Find those vulnerable people that actually need to be helped. But as we also prepare workspaces for our people.
All right. We have to.
Ekyokubiri kanjogere mu Luganda nti enakawa mumaze okuwulira saagala muntu kujja kusumbua mutembeeyi, saagala muntu kujja kusumbua akolera ku nguudo kubanga tebalina we bakolera, era njagala okubawuninga mwendoza mundabamu singa nakukwata munakawa mu abakesisi nga muze okukwata abantu bange muwedde mbabuulidde.
You had to end on a political note. We have to leave it there. We'd like to thank you for being a part of the big debate, but a special thank you to our three guests. Thank you for giving your time and your knowledge.
Especially me.
Yeah, well, because we caught you at the last minute, but it's to all the guests. It's a thank you to all the guests. Until next week when we bring you another edition of the show. From me and our guests, it's a good night. God bless you. Stay tuned to the programming here on CTV and don't blink.